My sister had a meltdown at my workplace, so I told her to leave.
I hope you don't work at the nuclear plant.
I, female 26, was due to move into my student accommodation this weekend. I also work in a hotel in the city where my university is, and my sister's boyfriend lives here too. She asked me to book a hotel room for her on the staff rate. It's way cheaper. And I told her I would. By the way, this comes from user Zayatopia, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Keon.
I'm Dakota.
I'm Carly.
We'll try to give our best advice, but we haven't experienced most of these situations. So, if you have, please let us know in the comments and give us your take. But if the room is booked under my name, I'm the one who has to check in, as the hotel is strict about this specific policy. Normally, even if the guest staying at the hotel calls us and tells us they would like their friend or family to check in for them, we deny this. It's not allowed. Also, because I chose to book the staff rate and not friends and family rate, I have to be the one spending the night in the hotel. She can also stay there as my +1. We booked for 2 nights, Friday night to Sunday morning. I was due to move in on Saturday. I decided on Friday night that I'd stay with my friend, as she has a car and could help me move stuff. I told my sister I would speak to my friends on reception and explain that I was busy with the move, so I'd arrive at the hotel on Saturday after my move was completed, and sneak out eventually to stay at my student accommodation. Since my sister was helping me with the move, she would have to spend Friday night alone. Because I'm friends with the staff, they allowed this as my sister checked in after my manager had clocked out. So, Friday, I stayed with my friend, and on Saturday, I completed the move. Although my sister was supposed to help me with my move, the reason she'd asked to have the hotel booked initially was because it was her birthday this week. She wanted to celebrate with some mutual friends and spend time at the hotel with her boyfriend. Saturday morning, when I went to my student accommodation, I couldn't check in as there was some delay with my SFE. It was their fault, not mine. I messaged my sister, who was getting ready to go out with her friends, then went shopping with my friend, who was, again, helping me move, and her mother for a wedding they are attending in a month. The road with all the wedding shops in the city is busy and has no service. I was unable to update my sister, and she was unable to reach me. By the time we finished shopping, I asked my friend to drop me at the hotel. I would then go to the accommodation tomorrow morning, it's a 5-minute walk from the hotel, and see if I can sort something out. She dropped me off at the hotel, but I left my phone in her car in the process. I collected the room key from reception and messaged my sister from my iPad, telling her I was at the hotel and didn't know what to do or where to go. She was out with her friends celebrating and immediately messaged me back, super defensive, saying I was invading her personal space with her boyfriend and ruining her birthday by dumping my problems onto her.
Girl, be so for real. That was not that much. That was a simple clarification, right? Am I wrong in that?
No, and again, hey, whose job is this? Whose hotel room is it under? Who works here? Who's hooking you up right now? The least you can do is give me just a little bit of communication. I reminded her several times about our agreement before, that the hostel staff had to watch me check in so it wouldn't reflect badly when I returned to work. But my sister was thinking only about her weekend and her ruined plans, so she wanted me to get out of the room immediately. This is where I lost my temper because she was not being understanding at all. I cussed her out and told her if she wanted to spend quality time with her boyfriend so badly, they can book another place, and I would return the money she lost for not staying in the room for one night. We decided to talk when she was done with dinner. I smoked, chilled out, and was starting to see her side. I was looking to book another alternative place for myself after she returned. When she came back, she brought 2 of our mutual friends with her. When I saw the 3 of them walk into the room together, I was already annoyed. We already argued by text, so I didn't understand the need to bring in an audience. Because of this, we argued again when she got there. To top it off, one of the other girls tried to get involved, and I told her to respectfully shut up and butt out, as this had nothing to do with her. Then there was a knock on the door, and it was a friend from reception. He took me out of the room and said that when my sister returned to the hotel room from dinner, she shouted at a girl from reception for even giving me the keys in the first place, when the room was booked under my name. LMAO.
Come on, man. You knew the program. You knew what was going on. Stop it. You're making problems, sister.
I was so embarrassed in this instance because I work at the hotel. I told him we were speaking about what the plans were in the room, apologized for her shouting, and said it wasn't an official complaint. I told him we would sort this out before going to sleep. When I returned to the room, I was fuming and only seeing red. I told her to get out of the room. She'd embarrassed me at my workplace and could either book another room or go to a different hotel. Sounds like a problem for her, and her, might I add, bum, of a boyfriend. She booked another room for one night at triple the rate of staff rate. Staff is $35 for one night, and she booked at $130 for one night.
Dude, 35 a night, that's nice.
It's probably for a nice hotel too, yeah.
Yeah.
She then asked me to pay $70 for the other room and move my stuff there since her and her boyfriend had already spent the night in the room I was currently in. Why is her boyfriend not paying for it? I did say he was a bum. I paid her $60, $35 for the room that I took and she paid for, and $25 because I felt bad for her. I also refused to change my room because I was seeing red and fuming after my conversation with the reception staff. I slept on the sofa bed because her boyfriend and she had already used the bed. But I did not want to move rooms because I wanted to be petty. Anyway, she packed her things and went to stay in the other room. Now, it's the next day, and although I know I went too far, I don't really regret it. She's currently in the room with me as I managed to extend my booking, but she's planning on going to see her boyfriend and stay with him when he finishes work. We haven't spoken about what happened, although we've talked a little about regular stuff. Tension is very high in the room right now. What should I do? What do you guys think? Am I the a-hole? And we have an edit. I should add that my sister did offer to pay for my train or Uber back to my friends, but I refused because my friend lives in a difficult location. And we have some comments.
I mean, like you said, you wanted to be petty. Now the tensions are high. I mean, like, I think it just maybe don't offer this again in the future afterwards. I think it's easy to talk about like the virtues of like turning the other cheek or like being the bigger person or like letting things go, but it's like in the moment it can be really hard.
Also, it's a sibling thing.
Yes, I know.
Yes,
it's harder when it's family too.
When you literally said like, hey, I could put my neck out there for you. All you have to do is literally just follow these rules. If you can do that, we're Gucci.
It was like super simple too. It was not complex. You were not asking a lot. You were helping her out.
Comment number 1. Honestly, I think both you and your sister had valid frustrations, but the way things played out just piled misunderstanding on top of stress until it blew up. You were in a tight spot with your accommodation and the hotel's strict policies. Plus, the fact you work there, which raises the stakes for you if anything goes wrong. On her side, she was looking forward to celebrating her birthday weekend with her boyfriend and friends. So when you turned up, it felt like her plans were hijacked. Neither of you really handled it calmly in the moment, but that's pretty normal when emotions run high. Wait until things settle a little, then have a calm talk with her about how this escalated. You can acknowledge you were harsh in how you reacted, while still explaining why you felt backed into a corner with the hotel rules and the embarrassment at work. Ask her to acknowledge that yelling at the staff and bringing in friends to an argument wasn't fair either. That way you're not trying to win the fight, but you're both just understanding each other better. Comment number 2. Your sister broke the agreement. She may have put your job in jeopardy. This could get back to management. I wouldn't have given her anything. She forfeited any consideration from the start. And that is the end of the story. What?
Hey, no resolution.
What?
I mean, it was written like they were still in the room.
Yeah.
So I hope it went well. They both go to jail. OP loses their job and they both go to jail because they were fighting.
I evicted my sister before her surgery because I've had enough.
Get her out of there.
Trigger warning, mentions of substances. My 60-year-old sister moved in with me, 65, after my mother passed away. My little sister has been unemployed for the past 20 years or so. When she left her relationship, she moved in with my oldest sister, and after a few years, she bounced around to various family members who all ended up frustrated with her lack of motivation, sleeping all day, playing computers and games all night. By the way, this comes from Artistic Quiet 8545. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit. I'm Riley.
And I'm Keon.
I'm Carly.
Before we get into the story, we're going to try to give our best advice, but we haven't experienced most of these situations. If you have, please comment down below, and we would love for you to share that. Until my mom took her in, this was around 2018 and through the time of the vid. My mom was living in a senior living apartment and basically hid my sister in her apartment because the rules were that she couldn't have anyone living with her. This went on for several years until my mom passed away in 2023. Everyone decided that I needed to take my sister in after my mom's passing, since I was the only one who had the space. I didn't want to, but felt I owed her at least a few months after she cared for our mother during the last couple of years of her life. I've known for several years that my sister is addicted to the math spelled wrong, and she hides it pretty well. She always looks sober and presents someone who is not getting into high. But for years, even before she was with her ex, I bailed her out financially several times and even a couple of times from jail. To make sure my suspicions were right, I snooped in her room and found a small zippered bag with paraphernalia and several rocks. I even took a picture to prevent gaslighting and perhaps later not trusting what I saw. My experience has been that she is in my life when she needs me. When she doesn't, she won't take my calls. So a big reason why I didn't want to be her savior was that I just didn't have any faith in her or our relationships as siblings. I was worried that she would be parking herself in my life and that it would be impossible to get rid of her. My sister and I are polar opposites, politically, financially, etc. I've worked hard in my life to ensure that I'm financially safe during my old age. I'm a vegan, a sapphic, a very emotionally conscious. I am also a zero waster. I've spent a significant amount of money putting away in gray water systems, rain garden, solar panels, compost bins, drought-tolerant native landscapes, etc. I also spent several years of getting rid of material possessions after my partner and several family members passed away. We kept having to deal with everyone's stuff, and I worked hard on giving it all away. It was time for me to finally live a lifestyle that I've dreamed of. Simple, peaceful, and finally take care of me. It took money and a lot of work to achieve my vision. Then my sister moved in. I explained my lifestyle to her and that she would have to abide by it. She agreed. However, immediately she violated every single agreement and started gaslighting me and acting like she didn't understand what I was talking about. She was a shopper and would spend all their welfare check on dollar store junk and thrift shop clothing. I kept asking her not to buy things for me, my pet, or the house, but she kept on doing it. Food bowls, scratching posts, cat and dog toys with several things for the house. Things I had gotten rid of would come back to my life. It was so frustrating. If I could only make her understand that I've worked so hard to get to the point that I had all I needed and didn't want more stuff. But she wouldn't hear me. She was also bringing home things like produce, plastic bags, and grocery bags because she couldn't be bothered to use the reusable bags I provided. She purchased frozen dinners or groceries in plastic containers and wouldn't even bother to recycle the containers. Cooking was something else she didn't enjoy, she said. While I use reusable produce and shopping bags, avoid plastic, shop at farmers markets and refill stores, and cook all my food and my dog's food, she didn't even try to assimilate. When she first moved in, I found out that my car was burning oil and the cost to repair the issue was higher than the value of the car. So I decided to buy a new car and offer my old car to her. I explained that it was a temporary transportation solution because since the car was on its last legs and would not last very long. I also added her to my phone plan and purchased a phone for her. I explained that this was a hand up, not a permanent solution. She had to take it from there. She was spending hours in the shower and using a ridiculous amount of water washing dishes. My water and power bills went up from 5 years of a credit balance because of my solar panels and all my water and electricity savings to $700 every 2 months.
That's actually crazy.
$700 every 2 months?
What's she doing in the shower to jump it up to that much? Like, yeah, you knew it was going to jump up a little bit, but is she like practicing a dance routine every time?
Confused. When I would bring it up to her, she would say that everyone is paying more now. I encouraged her repeatedly to get a job. I tried so many strategies, such as requiring weekly updates, and every time I asked her where she was at, she would tell me that she was looking. After 6 months, I told her she had until February to find a new place to live. At one point, I asked her what had happened to her job search, and she said she had until February. I couldn't believe her and pointed out that she had to get a job, save money for rent, etc. Around December, I explained that I was holding her to the February date.
You're being way too nice and convenient for her. If she was working on it and actually helping, and I get it, you're like, all right, it's a little bit harder for you. Life's hard. You shouldn't be giving her everything on like a silver platter.
She then announced she had to have surgery on her bunion and that she would need a little longer. I agreed to allow her longer time so she would have the surgery. Then it was months of her lying in bed after the surgery. As soon as she started to walk, I was starting to push for her to get a job. She pretended that she was looking. She updated her resume, went to the unemployment office, and spoke to a counselor about getting into a training program. I was hopeful. After a few weeks, I asked for an update. she announced that she was having the surgery on the other foot. Yay! Because people have 2 bunions. As much as she'd like to work, she just couldn't look for work right now. She said that she was doing this so she could be healed and able to work. I was so upset, but honestly felt like I would just have to deal with it for another 6 months. At one point last year, after I spent about $800 on the car I gave her, tune-up and suspension work, I told her that would be the last time I spent any money on that car. Well, registration time came, and I handed her the envelope and told her she needed to pay for it. She took it, and I didn't hear another thing about it. While my sister lived with me for 2.5 years rent-free, to be fair, she did help me with my animals and did a little bit of housework when she felt like it. I still work, and it was a comfort to have someone at home when I was at work. Took my dogs in for grooming appointments and was generally home when cable repair appointments came, so I didn't need to take time off. She also did things like paint my room and mended a few clothing items I asked her to fix for me. Over the course of like 6 months, a year, this isn't enough. Like doing a few chores and favors? Come on. Recently, I went to get something out of her car and noticed that the license had expired a few months back, and I became furious. I asked her about it, and she said she was waiting to receive her welfare check to pay it. I told her that I was thinking of donating the car. She dared me to go ahead. We started to fight. I told her I didn't want children on purpose, and here I was dealing with a 60-year-old baby. I asked why I had to have a child living with me against my will and told her she needed to get out. She said she was sick of me too. I think I said many hurtful things. I lost control and became verbally mean to her. I told her I knew I was being mean and that I would only get worse and yelled at her to get out. Get out. About an hour later, my oldest sister came to get her. She also lives in a senior apartment and can't have anyone living with her. She's now had the surgery and has been gone for a couple of weeks. I feel terrible about all the things I said to her. I did apologize the next day. I told her I didn't know what came over me and that she should come home if she wanted to. But she doesn't want anything to do with me right now. And we want everything to do with you on your favorite podcast platform. Just search up OK Storytime on Apple, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. We got stories for 73 days just waiting for you. Do you think this is a sign from God?
Yeah, I mean, you told her the truth. You've been fed up with her. Sorry, like, you should have done this a long time ago. And it was, you kept sweeping it under the rug kind of thing. Like, it's going to happen. And you kept believing that it was going to happen. And now there's a huge pile of mess under that rug.
Honestly, after the 2 weeks, I feel so much better that she is gone. And I'm not spending my day mentally criticizing her or mentally arguing with her. And frankly, prefer that she doesn't come back. But I still feel like a big knucklehead about how I handle the situation. As usual, I let people walk all over my boundaries. And at some point, I deal with it with rage. Another thing is that all her stuff is here. Her food, her room packed to the gills with all her things that she doesn't want to do with now. So it's up to me to deal with all her stuff. I know I'm the a-hole here, but how would you have dealt with this?
You know, you may
she's the a-hole. She's the a-hole.
You are the a-hole to yourself. Like, you allowed this to all happen, OP. I'm sorry. Yes, I do agree with you're an a-hole. You weren't an a-hole to your sister. You were an a-hole to yourself. You should have, put your foot down way sooner.
Yes.
My mother-in-law mocked our marriage. Now I want her nowhere near our future kids.
Mocked to blocked.
For context, I, 27 female, moved to another country completely alone last year and met my now husband, 25 male, shortly after. We were immediately inseparable, and while I was excited to meet his mom, she was traveling quite a bit at the time. We ended up meeting about 6 months into dating. By the way, this comes from Broad Initiative 965, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Dakota.
And I'm Keon.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do, so let us know what you would do in the comments. We decided on dinner at hers, and it was a nightmare. I was ecstatic to meet her, but she spent the entire dinner grilling him for choosing this over his possible career in boxing and saying he would get shot during our planned trip to my home country. We ended up cutting the dinner short after sitting through almost an hour of comments like these. Fast forward to our trip. We decided to elope since neither side of our family was in a financial position to travel for a wedding, and his mother literally refuses to get on a plane. We figured eloping would reduce any possible drama. The ceremony was just my husband, myself, and the officiant. We avoided making any posts until all immediate family was informed. My family welcomed my husband with open arms, and his family handled it well too. I felt loved and welcomed by everyone except his mother. Upon returning home, she asked if we could come over to spend time with the family. I wasn't a fan of this idea considering how the dinner had gone, but I pushed myself to go, hoping for the best. It was horrible. While everyone else was excited to hear about the trip and ceremony, she had something else in mind. So I must ask, she goes, are you pregnant? No, I respond with a confused look. Oh, okay, well, I'll let the family know that you guys married because you actually love each other. She then asked if she could be the one to announce our marriage on social media, to which my sister-in-law immediately stepped in saying, no, let them announce it themselves. I was speechless.
$100 trillion on her announcing your wedding on her own.
We left shortly after, and I told my husband about it since he had been talking to his sister and completely missed what his mother had said. Once I told him, he apologized profusely. We temporarily moved in with her about a month later due to unforeseen circumstances, and it has been like living in heck. She made comments about someone like him choosing someone like me, and got wasted one night to express her feelings about us being together. His sister had to step in to tell her she was being rude. I went back to therapy to avoid reaching the point where I want nothing to do with her. My therapist advised we set boundaries, so if we go no contact, she can't say she doesn't know why. We attempted this, and she spent the entire conversation saying things like, so I'm just supposed to not say anything or not be involved? When I made it clear our marriage decisions were none of her concern, she responded, if you're this upset about my behavior, then I'm worried about how it's going to be when you meet the rest of the family. Everyone else has been great. It's literally just her. I also asked if she could not stick her hands in our food, which she has a habit of doing, and I find it disgusting.
Why are we doing that?
A few days after our chat with her, I had just finished cooking and was getting ready to put together plates for my husband and myself, and as I'm doing so, she walked over to the food and in a mocking tone goes, can I grab some with my hands, or do I need to use a fork? I responded, please use the fork, which happened to be sitting next to the food. She proceeds to stick her unwashed hands into our food. She let out a giggle and said she only grabbed one. That was it. That was the last straw. It was clearly done to get a reaction out of me, and I made it clear to my husband that I want nothing more to do with her. She's been rude since day one, despite my efforts to have a good relationship with her. I told my husband that once we have kids, there will be a no kissing rule to keep babies safe, and I don't feel she would respect this given her behavior.
Yeah, she'd probably jam her unwashed hands all over the baby.
Yeah, she'd be like, well, I'm not supposed to touch the baby.
She'd be like, I'm going to go into the septic tank, and then I'll take the baby in there and kiss it.
I don't want her to have anything to do with our future kids, given her lack of respect for boundaries. We decided to look for another place to stay rather than see her every day. Smart! Get out of there!
Yep.
You hate her! Get
It's
out of there!
time!
There is an update, but literally just get out of there. Cut contact.
And to be clear, if your hands are washed and clean, they can touch food.
Yeah.
But if you're just got your filthy unwashed mitts shoved into the food,
Gross.
what is wrong with you?
Well, crap finally hit the fan yesterday. And my husband was finally able to see her true colors. Since meeting her, she's always made nasty comments or given me dirty looks when my husband wasn't around. Then she tried to hug me and tell him how lucky he is to have someone as amazing as me whenever he entered the room. It was like something out of a movie. When I'd tell my husband about this, he'd say, what? Mom literally loves you. Do you see how much she brags about you? I don't blame him because she could have won an Oscar for playing the world's fakest witch. It's been months of me mentioning these things while he'd catch glimpses here and there. He hadn't witnessed the extremes I'd been dealing with until yesterday. I'd been praying everything would come to light so he could see how monstrous his mother truly is. I felt like I was starting to sound insane. I knew my husband believed me, but maybe thought I was exaggerating from being uncomfortable. But I'm no stranger to being out of my comfort zone. I've solo traveled the world, so being in a house with a 50-something-year-old woman would be a walk in the park if she were normal. My husband and she had a chat yesterday, mostly her venting about wanting to focus on herself and her artwork now that her kids are adults. Her hobbies are watching TikTok videos and making artwork out of garbage.
Well, that could be cool, but
Sure.
I don't know.
Recycling, I suppose?
I think that turning garbage into art is a good way to recycle.
Yeah. She lives on government assistance and sits at home 24/7, which is why she has time to worry about everyone else's lives. My husband said he thought it was a great idea for her to focus on herself. They talked about how everyone is getting married or engaged. And during this, my husband said how I am his priority and how he's looking forward to building a family with me. Any sane person would have taken this as a newly married man looking forward to having kids with his wife, but she's far from sane. She responds defensively, "Yeah, but don't forget that you have an actual family.
Oh, shut up, woman.
Leave us alone." To which he responds, "Yeah, of course, that's never going to change, but I also have a wife who is a part of that family now as well." We left the house shortly after as we had a few errands to run and needed to grab lunch. Once we returned, my husband started taking things inside. Before I had a chance to get out of the car, I received a rapid thread of messages from him asking me to stay in the car because he was talking with his mom. This alone was enough to let me know that something was wrong. About 15 to 20 minutes later, he comes out of the house. I could tell he was furious. And given that he is a hands down one of the hardest people to upset, I knew things had gotten bad. He gets into the car and says, "We're moving today. This is ridiculous." His mom told him, "We've been extremely disrespectful, especially your wife." He asked what she was talking about since neither of us have ever said anything rude to her. "Your wife doesn't bother to have conversations with me." To which he explained that I've decided to limit socializing with her since she purposely oversteps boundaries after she mocked me and put her dirty hands in our food after being told no. I told my husband that for my own sanity, I felt it was best not to socialize with her because her actions were clearly intentional. My husband was very supportive since he was starting to see what I'd been bringing up for months. She found it very disrespectful that his new wife wasn't attempting to get to know her, when in reality, I've exhausted every attempt at bonding with her, only to be met with rude comments each time. I pushed myself beyond my limits because I knew my husband would love for us to have a good relationship, but he was seeing she's the source of all the drama. She became increasingly irate, yelling and insisting he tell me to come inside to talk to her. He said no, letting her know we wouldn't have a conversation unless she calmed down and that I've made my decision to keep my distance until we found a place. By the grace of God, we made some calls and found a place within minutes. We went into the house without speaking to her, just packing our things. We dropped our first load at the new house and went back for our second. We walked in to find her calling any family willing to listen, telling them that she doesn't welcome me into the family because we didn't ask for her blessings. Full offense. I don't need approval from someone who has multiple kids, no record of any stable relationship, and who happens to be a self-absorbed, heavy drinker, judgmental witch. She spewed lies about me, my husband, and our marriage right in front of us. We're both fuming, but we know she's hoping for a reaction, and we're not giving her the satisfaction. We finish packing the car with our things, and he apologizes to me, letting me know that he finally sees her true colors. He hands me his phone as we're driving off and asks me to block her on everything and to remove him from all of the family group chats that she's in. I do so, which puts his siblings and family in the chat on alert. Messages start flooding in right away with everyone calling to see if we're okay. We fill them in on the situation and they apologize profusely, letting me know that they not only completely welcome me into the family, but also love having me as a new part of the family. They were devastated to hear what we had experienced, but even more upset that I had been subjected to it for months. We returned today to grab the remainder of our things as we were both too mentally and physically exhausted to finish yesterday. We didn't speak a word to her. She apparently made a comment to my husband, "What a disappointing outcome that was," to which he ignored her and continued to pack the car.
I would do like the soccer chant when they clap and go ole 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 ole. I would just be aggressively
Strange.
strange.
She also stood in the doorway watching me as I packed the car. I guess as a way to try to intimidate me, but it really just gave off "I belong in a psych ward" vibes. And by the way, the vibes you should be giving off are the ones where you listen to full episodes of stories just like this. Just go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime. We've pretty much settled into the new place, and we've both completely cut contact with her. I've made it very clear to my husband that even if he decides to forgive her in the future, I want nothing else to do with her, and she will never meet our future kids. Heck, I was worried about our plants being in the same house with her. There's no way I'd ever trust her around my kids. I also want to mention that we're only 3 months into being married, and I don't feel like we ever really got a chance to honeymoon because we've spent almost every day since then playing peacekeepers. I also found out that she had a falling out with her daughter because of similar reasons, and that she and her partner have also cut contact due to mother-in-law being extremely disrespectful to them. She apparently feels that she should be their first and main priority, which I assume is what triggered her when she was speaking with my husband. We're over their BS and are really just looking forward to enjoying our time together without a gremlin witch heckling down our necks 24/7. And that's the end of that story, folks.
The gremlin witch is gone. She has been sent back to her hole.